Okay everyone, I'm going to be making some more videos about this subject, defending Australia, my little plans. So I had a comment from one of my subscribers before, Stormy Gale, and she brought up some valid questions, some valid points, and I want to give her my thoughts on those and answer those questions. Okay, so I thought it'd be easier to do this, and then I'll get on to making more videos, because these are questions that you know, make sense, and lots of people would probably have on their mind, right? So I've just written the short little version of those questions, but you know, we agreed on with making a militia, right? We've agreed on that if people could do it and people could volunteer, people would do it. I know lots of people would do it. But she asks, who would coordinate such a thing, right? So I think that wouldn't be hard to get ex-service people to volunteer. I don't think that would be hard at all. And it could be subdivided into all the different subcategories, you know. So there's survival experts out there that could do survival. There's navigational people. You don't need to be an army person to navigate. There's communication people. There's radio geeks out there who love radios, etc., etc., you know, and the technology to do with that. Rifle shooters, take your pick. There's rifle ranges around the country. There's civilian rifle shooters that think they're experts. Even if you don't want their advice, they try to force their advice upon you. So it's actually easy to find someone who wants to teach you how to shoot. Okay, but again, ex-military guys, I'm sure that that'd be helpful. You know, guys or girls with that, they might be retired and they can't do the physical work, but their minds are still sharp. They could be 75 years old. They can do. It's raining heavily here, so I'm talking a bit loud. Yeah, those people can. They can give us the smarts, give us the theory, and then it's up to us to go and do the practical. And that's why I'm also saying self-funded as well. Okay, and another to touch on that as well is I want to keep it separate from the government, so we do not tie up any government expenses or government resources. They've got a big enough job to do worrying about the Army Reserve and the full-time professional army. They've got a lot of things on their plate already. Let us become adults, okay? Let us act like grown-ups, and we will take care of it ourselves. Okay, what else? When I mentioned about New Zealand and mosquitoes, okay? Mosquitoes, that's a twin-engine fighter bomber from World War II, okay? 80-year-old technology, but it was one of the best planes of the war. It's a private company in New Zealand, basically a passionate bunch of guys that started rebuilding their own planes, and then now he's become the specialist of the world, and pretty much one of very few around the world that has the skills and know-how to do it. And he's sourced all of the information. He's a wealth of knowledge. So he's not controlled by the US, the New Zealand government. I'm sure that if there was job positions for him, if he could come and do lectures and that to other engineers and draftsmen and things like that, I'm sure he'd be all ears, especially if there was a paycheck there. Can't have a militia. We can do anything we want, okay? Just as they say that we have to wear masks and get all these silly things shoved in us, well, there's people not doing that, okay? So all you got to do is stand up on your own 2 feet and go out there and start doing it, okay? We don't need permission. We don't need government assistance, police assistance, or anybody's assistance, okay? You don't need firearms to start basic training, because it's not all about firearms. There's so many more things to being in a militia than firearms, you know? And what the militia does is, by learning all of these skills, if we were to join the Army Reserve or join the the military when if we really needed to be signed up, we have guys that are going to make it fast track through that system. Okay, they can be trained first. So if we've got 80,000, 100,000 volunteers around the country that are in their own volunteer militia type groups, and militia's not the right word. I'm just saying it because it'll pull people to potentially look at the videos. Okay, but what we need to do is, and Army Reserve isn't for everybody. Full-time Army, full-time Reserve isn't for everybody. It's a government-sanctioned thing. So they tell you got to jump, and this is how high, and you got to do it right now when I tell you. Not everyone has the time to go and do everything that they want when they say so. So a volunteer system is so much more flexible. If you've got to take kids to sport, if you've got things during the week to do and you can't make it to those Army Reserve commitments, you're gone. They don't want to know you. Okay, you get treated like shit. So we need a civilian thing that's more flexible. We can do it. We can come and go as we please. Okay, and I talk about subsidies or tax-free. It should be tax-free because any kit and equipment that we buy goes to the defense of our nation, so it should be at least tax-free. And then maybe once you've shown enough initiative and you've earned yourself whatever merit badges or whatever you want to call it, different skill certificates or whatever, kind of like TAFE, once you've earned a certain number and they can see, and it's been proven that you're turning up, monthly, bi-monthly or whatever, you should then get subsidised things to buy better equipment, whether it be chainsaws, whether it be water pumps, whether it be ammunition making facilities, because lots of people make their own ammo, if you don't know that. Lots of shooters reload their own ammunition. Trailers, four-wheel drives, batteries and solar power, a whole bunch of different tools. If they're to improve, if they can be used for defending this nation, and just like a builder will write off things on tax, you keep the receipts, etc., and you should be able to be they should be subsidised things. If they're going to subsidise the stuff that they're whacking in people's arms now, they should subsidise just about anything. Okay, so can't have a militia, bullshit. We can do whatever we want to. You just leave the firearms out of it and go and do all the same training, and go do your firearms training on your own accord, if that's the only possible way that could happen. So we can be a militia. Okay, militia is just a word that means volunteers and people who are willing to put their hand up, people who are no different to the guy who, if there's a car accident and people run to the car accident, or if there's a house fire, it's the same people who are going to run to that house fire and try and rescue the animals or the people inside and try and start getting garden hoses onto it. They're the same people who are going to step up time and time and time again, whether it's floods, whether it's bushfires, whether it's whatever. They're going to be the people who are going to want to join these things and want to skill themselves up. And there's probably a good percentage of the population, at probably at least 15 to 20%, I think, would probably be happy to do something like this. Like I said, it's not all guns. Okay? Firing on ships start a war. We're already in a war. You've got to have blinkers on to not realise that we're already in a war, okay? I have a strong interest in this stuff, so I've been watching what China has been doing since the early 2000s, and they are definitely 100% not building a self-defense force. They are building a force to project power, to be the dominant force in the world, okay? They are going out of their way to challenge America's position in the world, so they're the ones starting arms races, they're the ones that are starting all of this shit, and they've compromised the AFP building in Canberra. When was that? Was that 2009, 2012, somewhere around that period? So they've been spying on us. I got relatives that work in defence, and there's only certain things that we can do at certain times because they have satellites that go over the top of our military installations. So they're spying on us. They hack our stuff all of the time. This is war. They're at war. They're doing economic warfare on us. What else do you need to know to say that we're already in a war? It's just a matter of time. I don't know why we didn't strike earlier. Myself, while they're still not strong and our allies are the strong ones, I think that would have been the best time to strike. Obviously, people want to prolong peace if they can, but there's no point pushing and shoving when you know that there's going to be a fight. If it's in your belly, get ready. Okay, and we don't have to fire upon anything. I've said in some of my other videos, there's other ways around it. The way Sea Shepherd challenges whaling boats and illegal fishing boats, we can do exactly the same thing. It's in one of the videos that I made yesterday, so I won't go back over that. Why not the Army Reserve? I've already touched on that. Keep it separate from the Army, keep it separate from the government. It's a civilian thing. We can take care of ourselves. We're not little babies. And let the military focus on their things. Just give us subsidies, give us the freedom to be grown-ups, and we will act like grown-ups. Okay? Thanks, Stormy Gale. Thanks for your comments. There's a couple of answers, and anybody, please, this is what this is all about. It's to get conversation started. One person may not agree with me, and they may have a better solution, but I'm always going to try and come up with something, because it's in my heart. I'm passionate and I'm a fighter. So no matter what, if I get knocked down, I'm going to get back up again, and I'm not bending over. Look what happened to our soldiers in Singapore when we surrendered to the Japanese. Learn from history. History is, as human beings, we've been fighting wars all of our life. This period of peace since World War II is probably the biggest period of peace in the world, and it hasn't even been peace in the world. We've had little proxy wars and things like that anyway. So we've had it too good for too long. We've put our guns in the ground. It's time to now dust those, to dig those guns up, dust them off, get familiar with them again, because I'd way rather have a militia, have a strong military, have a strong strategic foundation and not need it, than really need it and not have one. Okay? Hopefully that answers some questions.